people. Welcome to another episode of the Top 4 Football Podcast. I told you, we're back. We're being consistent every week, at least once, if not twice. The second week of Premier League football has returned, and we've got myself, Jack, and Rob today, just to sort of dive in a little bit into last week, look ahead to the next week as well, and just chat about the world of football and maybe some other things as well. Maybe some nostalgia today. I mean, boys, I know you're both good. I know we don't need to ask, but as he's wearing his brand new Man United top, for our audience listeners, that's the white one. Looks very good, I'll be honest. It looks very good. I wasn't sure when I first seen the pictures before the call. On the call, then it's looking a lot better. But I've got to just start off, Jack. Man United, right? They've lost. They won the first week. Sorry, straight through against Wolves, and then they've lost to Angers Spurs this weekend. Just gone. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good in my new top. I will say it's probably one of the cleanest kits I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not being biased because I've been jealous of Arsenal's numerous kits over the past few years. It just feels good that we've actually got one now. I think it was 10 times better. I don't know if you saw that Roy Keane promotional video that he did for when it was launched. 10 out of 10 content. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, so good.
He's raking in that advert money now, isn't he? Have you seen this other Sky one as well?
Yeah, with the circus.
Oh my days. Anyway, that's for another day. But
I'm surprised he signed up to that, to be honest. I'm surprised they got him in makeup and shit, but I love it. Yeah, the moolah in it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not too concerned, right? I didn't actually watch the second half because I was at a wedding in West Wales, so I managed to watch the first half. I can see why people are a little bit stressed, but I think overall it's just part of the process at the moment. Mount's out for 2 weeks now until the international break, apparently, which I think might actually come as a blessing because our midfield is the problem. We are creating chances. I saw a stat the other day that our XG is like 2.15 per game, and it's up from like 1.7 last season. It's only 2 games, so it's hard to say exactly what improvements that we're making, but we are creating chances. In that first half, Anthony hit the post like twice. We hit the post twice. There were plenty of occasions where we could have gone ahead, and we're just not taking them. And then in the second half, Big Ange did Big Ange things, do you know what I mean? But I think overall, we're creating chances. I think when Højlund is fit and we've got someone who can actually finish, because Rashford is just not as effective at the middle. I'm just not a fan of him as a striker. He's so much better coming in from the left. I would be starting Sancho, personally, over Garnacho. I think Garnacho balls off the bench. I think I said this in the last podcast actually. But you have to start Sancho if Rashford's up top, I reckon. The fact that Mount's going to be out now, again, might be a blessing because when Eriksen comes on, he just looks so much stable. Casemiro doesn't have to do as much of a job in terms of manning that whole area because Mount and Bruno are both getting forward. We're playing much better out from the back. Onana's kind of doing his thing, but it was just a shame that we lost 2-0. But I didn't actually see the second half. I watched the highlights, obviously, but yeah, I'm not too worried. We've got a nice game against Forest at home now on the weekend. So hopefully that will be a little bit of a confidence booster, but they're looking pretty sharp, to be fair to them. Did anyone watch the whole United game, second half?
Yeah, I watched all of it. I had a few pints, but I watched all the game. I'm always rooting for Man United as a big team. I've always had an appreciation for them, but they were so frustrating. So there's some things about Manchester United which I can't believe we're still talking about, like the attitude Rashford sometimes has when things aren't going his way. He does sometimes play like a kid who wants to go home. His shoulders drop, and it's like he's throwing his toys out the pram. If I was a Man United fan and we needed a goal, and I saw they were bringing on Anthony Martial to do that, I would be fucking livid. I'd be like, how is that still fucking happening? Like, after all this, I was laughing so much. I was like, how are they still in this situation? Eriksen came on, and he's aged more at Man United than, when Death aged him. He looks so old, and he looks so old.
Oh, and Bruno, he plays like such a brat as well. He plays like such. I don't understand how his captain. He just doesn't. He doesn't admit leadership when he's on the pitch, you know. And do you know when Bruno first came to United and he was playing great, lots of people were even putting him in like all-time Premier League teams, like all-time. I was like,
It's a bit absurd.
see how it goes. But now I don't know. And it's the Mount's an interesting thing because the midfield has been quite poor, and I kind of think the thing of United fans, no one's going to blame Casemiro. No one's going to blame him. They will make Mount a scapegoat very quickly. And so if whoever comes in now for 2 games, if Vertonghen has 2 good games, and he could be the workhorse they need in that midfield there. So I'd like to round that up into a coherent point as opposed to just naming names and having a go at people. But it's I can't. Wan-Bissaka's improved, isn't he?
Yeah, he's looking decent. It's a funny point as well that the 2 big VAR shouts in the past 2 weeks have involved United in terms of there has been other shouts obviously, like there was soft red cards like McAllister against set off for Liverpool, which has now been overturned, but that was super soft. But how we didn't get a handball in that first half against Romero is absolutely wild. I know they changed the rules again, but I don't even know what they are these days. They change them so much, but it looked like a full-on handball that should have been a penalty. And yeah, it's just it is frustrating, but we just got to look forward now. Like, I don't know if McTominay will be the Mount replacement. I think it will be Eriksen, and then the same forwards as normal. But I think Casemiro will be a little bit relieved that Eriksen's next to him. But I agree that he will never be blamed. I actually think he's got too much of a job in these first 2 games because he's just on his own, and he can't. You know, that midfield 3 in Spurs, Basuma, Sarr, and who was the other one? I can't remember. But they no, it wasn't all the Skip. Maddison. Yeah, those 3 absolutely run him ragged. They were quality. Do you know what I mean? But so far, Wolves have made United look shit. Or United have made Wolves look really good, even though we nicked a win. And now we've made Spurs, that midfield, who hasn't really been mentioned previously. Maddison had a good performance in the first game, but as a whole, we made them look mint now. So it's interesting to see what happens on the weekend. That's for sure.
You know, you guys didn't play very well, but I don't think you maybe made them look better, but Spurs did look so good this weekend.
They look decent.
I think I've already backtracked, and I'll continue to backtrack. They look really good. Apart from Richarlison, they look really good.
Yeah, he's not a good guy.
And I'm really looking forward to watching play again.
Yeah, I think we got to just see how that Spurs thing play out, because I think it's going to be a long old season there. And there's, like you said, I feel like Richarlison, if they're going to have a good season, I feel like Richarlison's got to start turning up, or they got to sign another striker. Like, I think Maddison could get them points. I still don't think Son is exactly firing on all cylinders like he was a couple of years ago.
No, he's not.
And I think Kulusevski as well has not done as well since he first went there. So I think Spurs will be interesting to see if they can keep it up. But going back to United, I with what Rob's saying, it's like, well, Jack, you said it's part of the process, and Rob's like, we're still having to talk about certain things that was like. So it's like, how long does the process take before, there's actually like a bit of significant progress? Because last season, United lost their first 2 games. I know they've won their first game, but this is the season where people were hoping, maybe not to challenge, but to really be up there. And it's not out of the question now. But you look at how they've started these first 2 games. That doesn't put any sort of confidence in any of the fans or the players. And so the question I sort of have to Jack, but Rob can obviously jump in if he wants to, is what does Ten Hag have to do this year, really? And if what would have to happen for him to maybe not make it into next season? Because there's only so, like, Pep, obviously given a couple of years, Jurgen given a couple of years, but not a lot of managers get given more than 2 seasons to sort of get it right.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned there as well, like how long is the process? Well, I'm hoping when Hoyland's returned from injury, like I said earlier, I'm not too worried because we're creating chances that we just haven't got anyone to finish them yet. Like, I don't know, there's these little... I can see the difference in the style of football that Ten Hag's trying to imply on the players, but it just doesn't look as if they're doing it as they should be as yet. Like, Garnacho is a big problem. Lisandro Martinez has had a really poor start. He's quite well known for obviously being rash and aggressive, but like he hasn't looked good. We were praising him. We were making fun of Jamie Carragher last season, like taking the piss of his height and stuff. But he was one of the best centre backs in the league at one point. That's what people are saying. But I think these certain players that once Hoyland's fit and Rashford is where he's most comfortable. These centre back pairings. Lindelof is going to stay. So I don't know. Once these players actually start doing what Ten Hag wants them to do and is able to, then I think we will all be good. But I think the biggest issue is up top at the moment. The midfield is the poorest area of performance, but I'm hoping that once Hoyland's in and everyone can kind of do their actual role, then we'll start to see some more positive results. But the first half, we should have, like I said, with the first half, we should be 1 or 2-0 up. But the frustration is just that we're not finishing the chances. So we'll see if he does make any changes on Saturday. I certainly would be benching Garnacho for Sancho, and obviously Eriksen would be coming in now because Mount's injured against Forest. So hopefully that's actually a dominating performance, or at least something that we can take some major ups from, or major positives from, at least.
And they're playing Forest, aren't they, next week?
Yeah, Forest on Saturday.
That's at United.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the perfect game for you now, really.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so hopefully they can get to get a win. Were you gonna add to that, Rob?
Well, I'd encourage people to captain Brennan Johnson in fantasy football this week. That would be worked well for me last week. But I'll do the same again.
Well, you captained him. You captained him in last week.
Yeah, but on video, got me 2 points. Well, 4 points really, but
Yeesh.
Not good.
And
Not
didn't you switch your captaincy off as well, Jack?
Yeah, so I captained Salah. I think I said on video last week that I'm going to captain Salah. Then I had a conversation with a Liverpool fan in work, shout out Luke, and I made the last minute decision after a couple of pints on Saturday to triple captain him. So, I know we're not on Saturday, but before the deadline, I think it was Friday, I had a couple of beers, but yeah, triple captain him. Obviously, it would have been a lot better if he didn't technically miss the penalty because it was saved, so he got -6, -2, -6 because I tripled him. So he finished on 15, so I'm glad he actually got that goal, but it should have been 21 instead of 15. So in hindsight, maybe not the best idea, but it did beat Bournemouth 9-0 at home last season, so, I was hoping for the same thing. But yeah, didn't quite happen. I was quite frustrated that João Pedro didn't start. I thought he was a good differential up top, but he didn't start. I feel like De Zerbi's kind of becoming the new Pep in terms of roulette because Brighton have got a lot of forwards. So I was a little bit annoyed that João Pedro didn't start. Is there enough of a question to sell him yet? Don't know, but I think it is a heavy rotation risk now. So I don't know what transfers are going to make this week yet. But how did you do, boys? Did you captain Haaland?
I had a shocker. I captained Haaland because I forgot to change it. Because I did want to change it. And I was so bothered about making sure the podcast and all our listeners knew that I had swapped out I swapped in Bobby Reed for Damari Gray, which definitely got me some more points because I don't think Damari Gray's playing at the moment, but wasn't worth it. And I kept John Stones in the team, who isn't back till the 16th of September. So I had a poor week. I think I'm bottom of every league I'm in. All 7 of the leagues I'm in. I'm pretty sure I'm bottom of all of them, including the one that I made for the top 4.
I'm 7th in the top 4 one. I'm doing all right there.
That's all right. Where are you in that one, Jack? You must be Oh, you're fourth. You're fourth. You're in there.
I'll take that. You know.
And then I'm in a league called I don't know why. Oh wait, I'm in Daddy Deitch League. Is that Mikey's league?
Yeah, that's Man Like Mike's league.
Shout out Man Like Mike's TikTok superstar. If you don't know, go get to know. So I'm 501 out of 599, which is pretty poor. So I'm already sacking it off. I'm focusing on the draft. Draft. I know. Just what I will say on the draft is I made a last minute change of taking out Anderson for Palace and putting in Serge Aurier at about 6 o'clock on Friday, and he came in with the big 2 assists and a yellow, obviously, because he loves a yellow, but he got 2 assists. So it's a shame I didn't put him in for Stones on my normal team, because that would have made a big difference.
Yeah. Another interesting point for FPL actually is on Monday night. Saka gave his penalty to Odegaard, which was relatively interesting for fantasy purposes anyway. So I don't know if you... Again, last week I said I took out Odegaard for Saka, and then Saka gave Odegaard the penalty. So thanks for that, mate. Really appreciate that. That's good. But yeah, there's some... Brentford are looking sharp, and Brownwell with the 2 goals. I got him in draft as well. You kind of saved my week. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do this week. I'm going to have to see what's coming up. I think Estupinan is already becoming like an FPL legend. Like, got to be the best left back in the league at the moment. Like, if you got an argument to say he's not, I want to hear it, because I actually think he's the best left back in the league at the moment. Like, FPL legend. You can just he's quality. He's so good.
I don't disagree. He's also built like an absolute brick house, isn't he? But he's also pretty athletic.
I'd love to disagree for the illusion of good content, but I do agree with you.
Oh yeah, he's quality. Funny enough, though, another funny point on my draft is I had 20 points on my bench. So that's not great either. Bench Flecken, Pau Torres and Pedro Porro, because 2 of them didn't start the previous week. They all started and got a clean sheet. So yeah, thanks for that, boys.
I will say, I think we're going to have a lot of triple captains this week.
It's Sheffield, isn't it?
Against you. And that's the thing is, he might only play 60 minutes, and he might, but I think a lot of my mates were saying they were already captain Haaland against Sheffield. And no, I don't want to do it because I want to do something. I want to be edgy and do something that no one else does. But
I got one for you. Triple captain Jackson this week. I want Luton. So, we're playing Luton at home Friday night. But it's Chelsea in it, so you just
I would ruin the whole weekend.
Chelsea have got they got a really nice run now, actually. They got Luton, Forest, Bournemouth, then Villa, then Fulham and Burnley. So, that's some tasty fixtures for them. I worry about Jackson's minutes, actually, because I think that Brozier is back in training, and I think that he could feature. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, it's a fun old game, innit? So we'll see what happens. I think one thing that we wanted to touch on, Rob, I think the people want to hear is that you mentioned that Stephen Caulker was in your top 3 players of all time last week.
Correct.
Can you give us the honour of finding out who the other 2 are? Because I really want to know as well.
No, that's great, and no one's even questioned why Stephen Caulker. I think you would agree.
Oh, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I'd get him in. Okay.
England legend, 1 cat, 1 go. Great auxiliary striker. Number 2 is Paddy Madden, Yeovil Town legend. We signed him mid-season, and he still went on to become top goal scorer in the League One that year. Some half through the season, and he used to play as a winger at Carlisle, and Gary Johnson was like, you know what, I'm going to play this guy up the middle, get someone loan. Bosh, 2 goals in the first game. Scored a worldie in like the 5th minute at Wembley against Brentford, League One playoff final. And I rewatched that goal. I'll rewatch it probably like once a month, and 10 years ago now, and I get so sad. It's like I compared the feeling to it the other day about it's watching his goals for Yeovil was like really listening to songs you used to like associate with like an old love, you know. It's like I feel such raw melancholy feelings watching him now. It's absolute time machine. And I'm romantic, James. You can shake your head as much as you like.
This is a different podcast to some of the other stuff you do, Rob. Right? This is a football podcast, not.
I'd like to read you a poem I wrote about.
Here we go.
Number top, Wayne Rooney, street baller. He's not a footballer. He was the footballer growing up. Favorite ever goal, Rooney versus Newcastle, where he's going off to the ref, and the ball comes over it, and he goes fucking have it.
Yeah. Sprints over and wallops it top bins like.
So,
and people used to say you used to look like him.
Sorry?
People used to say you used to look like him when you were younger.
Yeah. Yep, that happened.
Is that a good thing?
It wasn't as bad at the time.
I mean, he's a mid-quarter, so.
I liked it at the time, and it made me emulate him on the pitch, I would say.
The spirit of Wayne Rooney lives in you. He's not dead, but, you know, you just got a bit of him in you.
Yeah, go on. Tell me yours. See if you can beat that. Oh, by the way, sorry. Harry Kane will be in that list at some point. I just need to figure some things out in my head. I'm going through stuff, but he will be in there.
I'm going to rattle from mine quick, and then I'll let James go because mine's probably boring. But number one, Stephen Caulker. What a player. No, he's not. Number one is Lee Trundle, Swansea boy.
Baller.
One of the best footballers that you will ever see in your life. He now plays for Mumbles What a signing for them, and he's still, like, first game, scored hat-trick. No problem. That's fine. Yeah, legend.
Soccer AM legend.
Yeah,
so many days.
He's a legend in all sorts, but Truns is the boy. And I remember, actually got a really early memory of being like 10 or 11. He was obviously with the Swans. My uncle went out clubbing, bumped into Lee Trundle, and the first thing that my uncle Alex did was get him on the blower to me. So spoke to him on the phone. Lovely guy, great guy, unbelievable footballer. Lee Trundle. Paul Scholes. Just the best midfielder to ever live. And I don't want to hear anything about Frank Lampard or Steven Gerrard. The best midfielder ever. And you know, the third spot is up for grabs, so I'll probably go Giggsy, because he was just my icon growing up in terms of a Welsh footballer playing for Man United. So yeah, a bit boring, but that's just off the top of my head. James, let's hear it.
Yeah, let's not dive too much into Giggsy right now. But number one, Kevin Nolan. Honestly, what a player! The best English footballer to not played for England in the last 25 years, no doubt. Chicken celebration, banging goals, attacking midfielder. I was surprised he didn't play for a bigger club than. Well, I mean, he went to Newcastle and West Ham, but surprised he's always linked with like Man United and Liverpool as a scouser, and now I think he's one of the main coaches at West Ham now with Moisey. So yeah, absolute baller, and I remember having his top as well and rocking that. Number two, I don't know if this is the right order, but I'm going to go El Hadj Diouf. Absolute nasty bloke. Shithouse. Will score against you, might spit on you. I love the fact that Gerrard hates him and they hate each other at Liverpool, and then he moved to Bolton and they still hated him after that. And I just hear a few stories about, he was actually in like around 2002-ish, Pele named his like 100 top players, and he included El Hadj Diouf in it. So I think that's quite a thing. And I know that when he went to like Doncaster and teams like that, he'd drop in things like that he'd done and that Doncaster Rover players had never ever been close to doing. And then number three, could I keep it away from Bolton? The streets will never forget Adel Taarabt.
Yeah,
I mean, just because
what a baller.
Just because peak at QPR, Neil Warnock got a load of big brutes of players on the pitch, and then he just chucks Adel Taarabt on to do some absolute madness. Some of the passes, some of the assists and goals he scored in the Championship that year, absolutely mental. I remember one of his set up for Wayne Routledge outside the foot. Honestly, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. Unbelievable player. And not too long ago, he's playing defensive midfield for Benfica, but I'm not sure where he is now. So you have to give you 3. It would be that.
I think it's a different thing when you think of ballers that the streets will never forget. I think James, we've had this conversation a couple of times in the pub, but there's some players like Tarapt, which I just think will long live in the memories of football fans. Another one that comes to mind is Ben Arfa. Hatem Ben Arfa, unbelievable. What a player. Johan Gabai, remember he was on Newcastle? That's another player who was up there. And again with Newcastle, Demba Ba, Papi Cisse. There's players like that which I think you just appreciate and will cherish the times that we had them in the Premier League.
Yeah, I still crack out the Michu celebration every now and again when I have a moment of success in my life. I
was going to say the best to last. I didn't want to put another Swans in my top 3 favourite players ever, but Michu could be one of the best signings in the history of English football. Like, absolutely unbelievable. That season, that 10-11, 11-12 season, unstoppable. Absolutely quality. What a player. Don't know what he's doing now. I think he went back to Spain, didn't he? But
yeah, he dropped down quite a bit. I think he got an appearance for Spain whilst he was at Swansea, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that was the big thing.
I'll actually always remember that Misha scored a header against United, and apparently I remember reading after it that Fergie was fuming at his scouting group because he had never heard of him, and he just absolutely tore up the United backline. So he was absolutely livid about it. But yeah, big up Truns, big up Michu for the Swans. Unbelievable players. So just finally, before we finish, looking forward to the weekend. The fixture that sticks out to me is not Chelsea-Luton, unfortunately, but Liverpool-Newcastle on Sunday to round the weekend off. Big Super Sunday game. But I just wanted to get your thoughts. I always compared teams when they're playing against each other and just imagine certain players playing for the opposition, if you know what I mean, like the big names or whatever. Obviously, Liverpool, elite, huge club. Do we think that any of the Newcastle players would walk into the current Liverpool lineup? Is there anyone that is better at their role in Liverpool that they do for Newcastle? Does that make sense? Any shouts? Is there anything? Because I think that's one of the ones where it might not be obvious, but I think there is probably 1 or 2 that Liverpool could do with.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's well talked about how good Liverpool are in the forward areas. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure any of the forward players would get into Liverpool's team. I think whilst Callum Wilson and Isaac are both really top players, I don't know if they would get in over any of the Liverpool players. But midfield-wise, I definitely think the problem is I haven't watched enough of Newcastle this season yet, so I'm not sure. But I definitely feel like Bruno or Tonali could get into that midfield, 100%. Because who's the 3 midfields for Liverpool? You've got McAllister,
Lobboslai,
yeah, and
the
one.
You played Gakpo at centre mid last week, so
yeah. So take Gakpo out, and I'd probably put in Tonelli. I watched the Villa game, and Tonelli was unbelievable, unbelievable. Didn't see how well he played last week against City, but yeah, that would probably be off the top of my head. That's the first one I would say.
I'd have to be honest that I don't necessarily have a fully developed image of Tonelli just yet to say that sort of statement. But if I'm being really honest, I think if all the Newcastle players went into Liverpool squad now, I think there's maybe 4 that would start next week. I think Isaac starts. I think he's very good at football. As long as he's fit, I think he's so he's a bit sexy on the ball, if I'm honest. And the fitness has been his issue in the Prem, but Liverpool needs that guy in the middle. Bruno would start for me. I have picked Sven Botman quite early in my fantasy career this year, and I picked him last year. I think he's great. I think he's really good. And that second centre back has been a bit of a rotation for Liverpool, isn't it? I'm a big Joe Matip fan. I think he's never been really appreciated as much as he should, but I think Sven Botman might play ahead of him. And Kieran Trippier. I'd start Kieran Trippier over. I say it for England, so why wouldn't I say it for Liverpool?
You could drop Trent Alexander-Arnold for Liverpool. Every England trip.
Every England game I want Trippier playing. So for me to not
Yeah, but that's a different thing because Trent for England is a different thing than Trent for Liverpool.
Yeah, but I think Trippier is incredible for this season. He's Trippier was nominated Player of the Season last year from a right back. Therefore, we can have the debate. But was he the best right back in the league last season based on form? And I think there's been such a big question mark over Trent. And people will say, should he play centre mid? I'm like, fine, I can go play centre mid then. Stop talking to me about it.
Thank you, Jack.
So consistent, so great. Stick him in there.
Yeah, I actually think between you there, you've covered what I was going to say. I think I definitely agree with Bruno G. Bruno G would walk straight into that Liverpool team, I reckon. You mentioned Botman, but Fabian Schär actually came to my mind first to sit next to Verge for that second centre-half problem. I just think that Schär is more... He's got more about him. Like, he's quite good. He scored a couple of goals last season, Fabian Schär, didn't he? Like, he had a really good season, so I put him there. And I would take trips over Trent every day of the week. Every day of the week. And I'm not being biased here. Trent is unbelievable going forward, but I think that Trippier is just as good. He's just as good on a dead ball, but he's just way better at defending than Trent is as well. Like, he can actually stop plays. He can interrupt plays. I'll take Trippier over a right back or every day of the week, and Isaac over Darwin is a non-negotiable. Like, Isaac is twice the player that Darwin will ever be at that.
If we rewind the clock till somebody mentioned Paddy Madden scoring a Wembley goal for Yeovil, I know you're wondering who scored the second goal. Well, I'll tell you, it is Dan Burn, and I just fucking love Dan Burn. So if I was manager of Liverpool and I did inherit the whole Newcastle squad, I'd start Dan Burn as well.
Over Robbo.
Yeah. That's not based off sort of ability though. It's based on pure bias. I love him very much. And it's funny to see a 6'7" bloke with 9 fingers in fullback.
So you'd have Newcastle back line of staff apart from Van Dijk.
I've said it on video, so I've got to stand by it. Yes.
Rob probably won Nick Pope in goal as well.
Don't be silly.
Yeah, it's crossing the line now.
I'm in a serious conversation. If Paddy Madden was there, woof, I'll stick him in.
But a front three of Salah, Luis Diaz, and Isaac, and no T. Absolutely not Anthony Gordon. He's useless. He's terrible. Bin him.
I even get into the Newcastle squad for me. Harvey Barnes, a million times better.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Harvey Barnes. But that's interesting to know. Maybe we can do stuff like that more in terms of big games anyway, like who walks into each other's teams.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Let's do it for Chelsea Luton.
Colin Morris, get him up top.
Ross Barkley,